Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Quarternight.com. Today is Tuesday the 14th of April 2020. As you see, I've had a haircut. It's a corona cut. It's either this or nothing basically, because where I am in Russia, everything's closed, certainly any sort of hairdressers, etc. So, it's either this or just getting messier and messier and messier. This is a short video on a couple of subjects. I've received a bit of a flurry. You go through phases, flurries of things happen, and it's just easier to make a video. The recent flurry in response to what's going on, obviously, with the psychosis, to quote Lukashenko, which I think is a good way of putting it. I mean, I'm sure it's a psychosis. I'm not saying anything about any of the medical realities. I'm leaving that subject to one side, but there's no doubt that there's a psychosis being stoked all over the world. But as a response to that, I've had a bit of a flurry of questions about communities. Now, if you've watched any of my stuff going back a couple of years, I've been doing this 3 or 4 years, I can't remember, 5 years, whatever it is now. At one point, I did think it would be possible to set up a sort of Quarternights community. I don't think that's possible. I didn't think it was possible then. And the reason why I thought ceased thinking it was possible is because things were too comfortable. And when people are comfortable, they won't do anything. It's just reality. And so I knew that unless there was a real drop, a shoe really dropped, and people felt that they had less invested in the mammon system, as it were, a community would just be an overhead. Now, in terms of taking up my time and energy, and I think I was right about that, to be honest. There's as a sidebar, there's a guy, I'm not going to name him, but there's a chap that I listen to occasionally. I don't listen to him from the point of view of ideology or doctrine or anything like that. He's a Christian, sort of fundamentalist Christian young guy, and an ex-drug dealer, as it happens, and various other things as well. But he set up a community, and I watch his channel occasionally just to see how right I was in not setting up a community. It just sucks all your life out of you. People are what they are, and most people want attention. Most people, that's what they want. They want attention, and unless people are undergoing real hardship, they won't fight. It's just reality. So I think now it has changed a bit, and people have now realized that this world is temporary, and they are out to kill you. There's no question about that, but they always were. For me, nothing has really changed. It's just thought that we've just sort of crossed over the state line of a road that was always been going in the same direction. But now the question is, how about now setting up a community and so on? Well, let's be honest about it. How free are we to travel anymore? Firstly, I don't think that that's possible. I do think what is possible, and the reason why I set up meetquarternights.com is because I'm not really a sort of, into the cult of leadership. To my mind, a real leader doesn't create followers, he creates leaders. And so the way I see it is that if you want a community, you should start one where you are. That's the answer. When we left the UK a few years ago, we chose the country of Georgia because at that time Georgia had very easy visa restrictions. Basically, anyone can could. I think it's changed a bit now, but you could go and live in Georgia. Whether you'd want to is a different question. Georgia's a beautiful country and all that, but it's not without its own problems, especially if you don't speak Georgian. Even with Russian, which is the second language there, it's still a bit of a challenging place to live. But however, that's why we chose Georgia, because we thought, well, this is a place other people can come to. But at that time, nobody wanted to. It may have changed now. The question then is for me, is not, should we set up one big community? I don't think that's possible unless the leader of a country says, okay, guys, come and live here. Well, that's entirely different. But failing that, I don't see that's happening. For myself, in my journey across America last year, which was fascinating, and I'm really glad that I did it, especially at that time. When I got home, my own personal view was if I had the opportunity to take my family to live in the States, I would take that. Most of the people that I'm close with in this project are in America. I can see America's got a lot of problems, but it still does have a I suppose a tradition of freedom. It's more of a superstition about freedom than anything else now, but it's still there in a way that it isn't in the UK. What I noticed in America was that the right, or the so-called right, is given up on everything. Homosexuality is basically, sort of okay with that, and it's just going to sort of grin and bear everything. Just don't take the guns. So, but they're going to take your guns. There's no question about it. And I suppose if what you want is some big shootout with policemen on steroids, then okay. I mean, I can't remember who it was, but you can certainly pay one half of the poor to kill the other half of the poor, and that's well known. So, but now, would I go and live in the States? I don't think it was even a question on it. I mean, even it was difficult enough as it was before, with all of the visas and all of that situation. But now, we're on lockdown. So I think it's a bit of the wrong way to look at it. I think the way to look at it is looking to people in your local community, or as close as possible, if that's what you want to do. It doesn't have to be everyone sort of huddling together in a yurt in Siberia. It can just be 2 or 3 people living in the same town or city, helping each other. I mean, that's how the Hasidic Jews do it. I mean, okay, they live a bit closer together than that, but it's possible to get outside of certain kind of templates of looking at things. I certainly am not interested in sort of setting myself up at the epicenter of anything like that, because I don't have the time. My work is focused on creating, it's a text-based, almost like a legal process that I'm interested in warning the elite. Once that's over, as far as I'm concerned, unless something very obvious presents itself, I'm done. I'm finished. I can't see that I've got anything else more to do or to say on that. So, in short, I would say look to people where you live, follow the Quran to the best of your ability, and prepare now for the Day of Judgment. But that should have been always the case, for the way that I see it. So that's that. The second thing I want to talk about is my thoughts on, I suppose, Bill Gates and the whole quote-unquote vaccine thing. Now, for what I'm going to say now, I don't have any particular data. I just have spent a lot of my life observing the so-called elite. I've also worked around some rich and powerful people, and watched how people think, and if you spend a long time observing certain types of mentalities, you begin to be able to get into their minds, into their mindset. I've also worked and been paid to think strategically and to plan strategically. So what I'm going to say now is I don't have, a site I can point you at and say, oh yes, this is true. I'm just saying this is my reasoning process of what I think is going on, and what I would do if I was a psychopath working for the ruling elite in the situation that we're now in. Clearly, they want to roll out, quote unquote, a vaccine, but the way that I would do it if I was a member of the elite is, you see, I think people see things in quite simplistic terms, and also because we're trained to think in a two-dimensional way. See, the elite don't think in like playing dominoes. They're playing Rubik's cubes. They're playing 8-sided Rubik's cubes, and there are things which can help you think in that way. Languages, for example, learning languages helps you think it trains you to think in a non-linear fashion. I'm sure there are other things which have a similar effect. However, I think what they're doing is the reason why they've given us the internet is, let's start with this. This illness is essentially non-provable. If you're seen to have it, you have it. You can't prove you don't have it. You can't prove that you don't have it. It seems, as far as I know, quite difficult to prove that you do have it. It's really an accusation-based diagnosis. So, which you can see that over a long period of time, with the weaponization, particularly of women, and the promotion of safety and the marriage to the state, looking to the state to defend you, the state to feed you, and all of this over a long period of time. I mean, I don't want to get into that too much, but you can see that the breaking down and the feminization of men and the usurpation of men by the state really set up where we are now. The appeal is going to be to the state to save you. I mean, it's Stockholm Syndrome. However, I don't think it's just a matter of, they want to kill a lot of people. I think they do want to kill a lot of people. They certainly, it's written in stone. Just look at the Georgia Guidestones, where it says they want 500 million people on the earth. Well, you don't have to be a great mathematician to work out what kind of percentage they're looking to get rid of. But I don't think it's just a matter of culling a lot of people. I think what they're doing is, or what they've been doing over this whole period, the feminization thing, but also the internet, is they're collecting information on us. Now, this isn't a conspiracy theory. Everybody knows that this is the case. It's not a question of whether they're collecting information on everybody. It's what they're using the information for. That's the only question. Now, were I, in the pay of the psychopathic elite, my suggestion would be, we basically know who everybody is, and what they'll do, I'm sure, is basically color code everybody. They don't care about your personal opinions. They don't care that you individually, Joe Blow, posted a picture of a cat, whatever. They don't care about that. But what they'll do is it's data mining. They're building up aggregate pictures of people, and probably what they're doing, in the same way as they do it with any kind of marketing analysis, is that they'll have a breakdown of where you are within a spectrum, basically color-coded, like 20 character types, everywhere from libtard, full-on, we want the state to save us, I want to have Bill Gates's baby, through to whoever it is, I don't believe a thing they say, a dangerous person, let's say, somebody with an unruly point of view, somebody who's not going to be very good for the New World Order. So you'll basically be allocated a number 1 through 20, 1 through 50, 1 through 5, whatever it is, I have no idea. But the way I'm sure that they would do it, the way I would do it if I was a psychopath working for these people, is I'd have 20 different vaccines. And basically you will get whichever one it is that they want, whichever category you fall into. Do they want you to have a quick death, get rid of you? Do they want you to have a long, slow, expensive death? Do they want to keep you alive because you're obedient, a rule follower with with autism who will do exactly what he's told? Whatever it is, wherever you come, whatever your color code is, that will be what you'll get. That's what I would do if I was of that type. And so if it's obvious to me, it's clearly obvious to them. So it's not like I'm giving them ideas. I'm sure that this is what they would do, given the amount of planning and strategic preparation that's gone into all of this. So that's my thought on that. And the last thought really on this whole theatre is to do with the ruling elite. I think that a lot of people have quite a simplistic idea. It's them and us. They don't really realise that the elite, insofar as they are elite, I use that word, advisedly, most of them are terrified. They must know. Obviously they've been promised, to be in on what's going on, but the shaitan, he always dumps you. He always dumps on you. He always turns around and accuses you. He's never happy. And just because, in your life or in my life, things are a bit tough right now, we assume that whoever it is up the food chain, they're living the life of Riley. That's not necessarily the case. I'm not trying to ask you to feel sorry for them or anything. I'm just saying that there is no point of safety for them anywhere in this. Let's imagine you're a billionaire. I know people I'm close to. I've worked for these types of people. They are utterly, and I'm close to people who still do. They're dependent upon armies of security, cooks, people who make their beds, people who drive into places, people who go to buildings, check them out before anyone goes in, people who plan everything for them. They can lose that. They're not really independent. The banking system, they're not independent of the banking system. Sure, they'll have some inside information. Sure, they may have been tipped off. I mean, for example, Jeff Bezos, I think he sold at $3 billion worth of shares just before this hit. You're telling me you didn't know this was going to happen? Of course you knew this was going to happen. And I'm sure most of them did. However, what I'm trying to say is they're not immune. They're certainly not immune to death. They have their own concerns, as everyone else does. It's not just a matter of, it's all easy for them. It's not easy for them either. And the shaitan, as I'm trying to say, is he always turns around and blames the victim. It's what he does. It's his modus operandi. So I just wanted to say that whilst I don't feel particularly sorry for them, it's not about that. We need to develop our thinking a little bit, and if you want to win a war, you have to understand your enemy. There's no point just sort of disliking them. My position as regards vis-a-vis the elite is I see it as axiomatic that there should be an elite. It's not a matter of the elite, there shouldn't be such a thing. It's an idiotic position. An iceberg has a summit. It just does. Wealth is relative. There's always going to be people who have, so is power, who's going to have more than other people. We live in, whether we're told that we don't, but we do. We live in ultimately a meritocracy. I mean, to some extent at least, where the rich and the powerful do what they want, and the weak and the stupid do what they're told. That's just how it is. And if you're not going to face that, I mean, the first stage in any sort of strategic process is understanding the reality. And for most people, reality is something they've just lost contact with, because they've been given to understand that their feelings trump reality. Well, they don't. Reality doesn't care. It is what it is. But what I'm trying to say is reality holds true, as it holds true for us, as it holds true for what we experience on a daily basis. It also holds true for the elite. They're not getting away from that. But the difference between the elite, in my experience anyway, and most other people, is that the elite deals with reality. I mean, their analysis is generally correct. Most people are stupid and obedient and will sell their own grandmothers for a little piece of security. That's correct. They're absolutely right in that. And if you think they're wrong in their analysis, I think you should go back and just understand their analysis. I'm not saying that the conclusions they draw from their analysis are necessarily correct. In my opinion, if you want my opinion, the ruling elite is failing in its duty as an elite, which is noblesse oblige. They are duty bound to guide the sheep correctly. The sheep will always be guided. There's no question about that. They always are. It doesn't matter where you go back to. Go back to Genghis Khan, go back to the Caesars. Most people always follow, and that's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. And there is always an elite which leads. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how we're designed. The failure is not that in the structure. The failure is in the application. And what we've got now is an elite which has gone off the reservation. It's gone rogue. It's reneged on its contract to lead the sheep. Its actual duty. I mean, if you look in the Quran, you've got Dhul Qarnayn. Okay, this is an example of a righteous leader. You've got Sulaiman, an example of a righteous leader. That we do have these examples, and then you have the antithesis. You have Fir'aun, who is an example of a corrupt and evil leader. Leadership is not anything. It's like a gun. It's not anything. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. It is powerful, and you can use it to achieve various aims. The question is not in the implement. The question is in the application. And so my position vis-a-vis the ruling elite is not that they shouldn't exist, because it's a ridiculous proposition. It is that they should do their job. And what they've done is they're serving the shaitan rather than serving God. In summary, the ruling elite could turn this around in I don't know how long it would take. 15, maybe 20 years. Feminism would be gone. All of this insanity would be gone. You'd have good families again. You'd have righteousness. Maybe it would take a little longer than 15, 20 years, but you could certainly turn the ship around. They brought it here through planning and strategy. You could take it there through planning and strategy. The sheep will follow. This is just obvious. And if you don't get that, then, well, you're watching the wrong channel. Anyway, those are my thoughts about this. Is a community really possible in a big scale with all the Koranite believers get together and stand around a tree and sing Kumbaya in the desert somewhere? I don't think so. I don't think it's possible from a logistical point of view, and I don't think it's possible from an administrative, legal point of view. And is it even desirable? Possibly not. I don't think that that's really the way to go. I think the way to go is, if you want people to be close to, go and be close to those people. Stop looking, far away. Look close to you. That's the way that it works. If it's possible, we could all do that. Well, okay, fair enough. But me right now, my concentration is, I'm not going to waste my energies on that. I have actually about 3 people that I work with very closely. I put my energies, working with those people because the results there. Most of the rest of it is people who want attention and time, and I haven't got any to spend because I have to stay focused on this. So that's my answer. If it all changes and things may, okay, fine. But right now, that's the way that I see it. My opinion is that each of us should work individually and on the basis of their families to attain a high rank and a clear conscience and a great reward on the Day of Judgment. But that was my view before this psychosis began. It's still my view now, and God willing, it will remain my view until my time comes. I'm not anything. I don't know of anybody who is anything. We're just serving God in the best that we can. That's the way I see it. Stop looking to leaders. I think that's part of the problem, frankly. Obviously, we all have people that we respect, we don't respect, but the Quran itself is a guidebook, and if you start following it, you're going to have enough to keep you going for the rest of your life. That's the way I see it. Anyway, I hope that answers the question. I hope everyone's well, and that you have better haircuts than I do currently. And that's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Quran free using the button in the top right-hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. I also encourage you to sign up for the Quranite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Quran alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short, eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.